So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first.
Ladies, gentlemen, stormtroopers of an expendable age, welcome to episode 30 of Hell of a Pilot. With me tonight, and as always, at Mike's house, Mike. Hello, Mike.
I'm Mike, and this is my house.
This is your house.
This is my house.
And we're talking to Mike into a mic.
Yes, we are.
This is the thing.
I'm looking forward to this show. This one is exciting. We have lots to talk about.
Ooh, what could it be? Lockie. Also, Lockie's here.
Yeah.
Hey, Lockie.
As per usual.
Yeah. Well, tonight we're talking about something a little bit different.
Oh, bit sneaky.
Yeah.
And now with us on the couch, we've actually kicked Mike off the couch. He's sitting on his chair, his desk chair.
Yes.
It's nice. It's well worn. It's a lovely desk chair. You can lean back, unlike us. But on my right is...
It's no milk crate.
It's no milk crate. No, listen. Is Charles Briers from Star Wars Miniatures Games.
Ooh,
Yay.
so close.
Damn it!
I'm from Star Wars Tabletop Gaming.
That's it! I
The
swear! Oh!
Premier YouTube channel for all things Legion.
I
and
think
we're here to
you're
talk
the-
about Legion.
We're here to talk about Legion.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we were going to talk about Settlers of Catan.
That has a Star Wars expansion now. That is like Star Wars Settlers of Catan.
Are you sure? It has Game of Thrones Settlers of Catan.
And
I think you're making
Hey,
it.
bye guys, I have to go to the game shop.
I know it has Star Trek.
Ooh, it
Can
does
I,
have Star
can
Trek.
can I put myself out there for potential nerd shaming? I don't actually enjoy Settlers of Catan.
I've never played it.
That's
What?
fine. It's fine. It was like
It kicked off the...
you know how people who read fantasy
Yeah.
books don't enjoy Lord of the Rings?
Yes.
It's the same thing as ball gamers not enjoying Settlers of Catan.
Hashtag
So that's
not
okay.
a real gamer. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's me.
yeah.
So, Charles on the show today because, well, Legion came out and I like Legion. Well, I've decided I'm getting into Legion.
Yes.
Mike's also getting into Legion.
Very excited.
And, yeah, we will have a chat about that. What else will we be talking about?
We're going to talk about... to sort of bridge Legion to X-Wing, which is what the show is supposed to be about, but there's been no X-Wing content for ages. I suppose.
Because Legion
Partly
came
because
out,
of
yeah.
Legion. Yeah. So to bridge the games together, we're going to talk about narrative gaming and how one has it and one kind of doesn't.
But it could.
But it could.
It absolutely could.
Yeah.
And there are models for that, which we've discussed in the past. And actually, I think it's an emerging trend. So think about... when you think about some of the other competitors, but let's not spoil the show.
Yes. And of course, we'll have our lore section. Are you going to spoil what we're going to cover? It's Lockie's turn.
Yeah. This week's lore section is about the Wookiees.
Yes!
Oh,
Just-
nice.
Just all of them. I wanted to... At first,
We say they all look the same?
No. Well, they don't, and I'll tell you why.
Oh,
Yeah,
why are they naked?
They're not naked. They grow their own clothes. At first I wanted to do Wolf Warwick. He's basically my favourite pilot at the moment, but there wasn't really enough to talk about. And Lorik is one of the most popular pilots in the whole meta, but again, not enough to talk about. But as I was reading, I just got really into the Wookiees, because the Wookiees are awesome, you guys.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Except for the notorious Star Wars Christmas special, of which I know...
I've never seen it.
I've never seen it either.
Go to YouTube
Yep, make it happen.
and watch 20 minutes of untranslated Wookiee acting.
Here's
Wow.
my counter proposal. Go to YouTube and watch anything else.
No, you need to, because this is where the first time Boba Fett appeared. This is
Yeah,
This
right.
is
I've
the
heard
genesis.
of it. I know the history of it all.
It's the
I just never
genesis
watched it.
of Boba
Yeah.
Fett.
What?
So John,
Actually, I
there's
have
a
watched that.
yeah, there's a little cartoon in there. But if you
What do you mean? Of what? Like he was in episode.
This is before.
No.
Yeah,
Before.
before that. Boba Fett's first appearance is as a
his
cartoon.
first in-universe appearance is
Yeah.
in a musical Christmas special where he appears
Oh,
as
no.
a cartoon.
Oh,
Yeah.
he just keeps getting worse and worse.
And yet people were amazed of episode 1 to 3. I mean, we knew what Lucas was capable of. but,
Yeah.
The Christmas special spelled it out.
In fact, that foreshadowed everything.
Alright, that's been enough banter about... I don't even want to think about it. But on with the show.
Good day, citizen, and welcome to Holonet News, reporting live from the tip of the spear. In today's broadcast, we take our heads out of the stars and go planet-side, for though the Imperial Navy safeguard your empire by patrolling Imperial space, nothing compares to boots on the ground when it comes to winning an armed conflict. Sure, Star Destroyer can glass a planet from orbit, but only a stormtrooper can give you the personal touch required when telling one of your loyal citizens to move along. So if you haven't joined the military yet because you're worried about the dangers of becoming an Academy TIE Fighter pilot, why not become a stormtrooper and see how that works out for you? Now, I've already mentioned boots on the ground, but not all feet in the army wear boots. Some feet are giant and mechanical and attached to ATSTs. All-terrain scout transports are used to scout the flanks of intended attack routes, or for anti-personnel hunting. These light but formidable walkers are a sight to behold on the battlefront as they provide close support to fellow troopers, and with their armored plating they truly project a sense of safety. In fact, this broadcast comes to you from directly within an ATST, nobly walking its patrol. And right now I have to say I feel like I could take on the whole rebellion myself. As long as this vehicle doesn't run into any complex countermeasures such as stacked logs, logs dropped from ropes, or logs rolled down a small hill, it could go into battle and expect reasonable chances of success against enemy units with threat ratings up to and including talking koalas with sticks and hang gliders. That concludes this broadcast, so if you're listening from the front lines, then saddle up your speeder bikes, cause we're on the move! This is Holonet News. So, who's driving this thing? I see.
Alright, can we just have a quick talk about ATSTs and how awesome they are?
Yeah.
And talking koalas? Come on, that was gold.
Yum yum.
I will never look at a koala the same again.
Yeah, well, oh my god, they're just drop bears.
Yeah.
Yes! Ewoks and drop bears!
Ewoks and drop bears.
Because they will eat you.
Yeah, should we explain that to our international audience, what a drop bear is?
Oh, they can find out when they get here.
Oh, yeah. So it's actually a notorious Australian predator. If you're out hiking in the woods, watch out, because they drop from the
Notorious
eucalyptus.
Australian...
Yeah.
It's like an offshoot of the koala, but
Yeah.
more vicious.
Yeah.
They're the native Australian 101st Airborne. They will jump on you, and they will end you.
Hooyah.
Look, the ATST, I'm bringing it back because how long ago was the ATST conceived? Like, design-wise?
I don't
40
know.
years?
They were definitely in Return of the Jedi, obviously, but were they originally in The Empire Strikes Back, or were they just photoshopped in one of those re-releases?
So the first appearance, because
Photoshopped?
can I get to
Okay, here we go.
Star Wars, this is where I get to pull my Star Wars OG, because I did see them all in the cinemas originally before the...
Wow.
Yes.
We're not worthy.
Yes. Yes. So the first time I did see like the AST or whatever, those ones, Empire. So when they dropped from the belly of the big AT-ATs, all the rest of it, and started scurrying around, and that was the first time.
The Scout Walkers dropped out of AT-ATs.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What have you been watching? I
know.
mean, people were taking a lot of drugs back in the 70s, so...
I remember I know they're in the in Empire Strikes Back on Hot Scene.
Yes.
But I was just saying that, like, 40 years on, they are still terrifying and awesome to look at. From anyone. Like, anyone looking at that, it doesn't matter if you've never seen them before, you'd see that and go, that's cool.
Just the design of it compared to what so I was having a Star Wars marathon night the other night.
Yeah.
We watched all of it because Last Jedi just dropped, and I was just continuously talking about how the design of these sci-fi models and vehicles is still so relevant and so impressive, and we're seeing it now with Legion. They're on the table and they look so cool, even though the design is 40 years old. Like, have a look.
They're iconic.
Yeah, have a look at what other miniatures companies were doing. Well, 40 years ago they weren't making miniatures, but even 20 years ago, 30 years ago, their sci-fi miniatures they were bringing out looks nothing like an ATST.
You look at the first generation of, say, 40k stuff, and everything was kind of stumpy and funny looking. And look, not to have a go, they didn't have the sufficient technology back then. And but you look at them now, and you think, wow, those look really old-fashioned. But you look at an ATST today, and it still looks cool, even though Empire Strikes Back was, 1980? So, yeah. And the Legion model of the ATST is incredibly cool.
Spectacular, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's one of the most... It's so tall. It's so huge. Have you seen it in person yet?
I have. Up close.
I have not. I'm disappointed. I need to see it.
It's like almost as big as your forearm. I'm trying to
really
get a visual here.
Yeah,
It's huge. It's taller than a 40k
It's
knight.
to scale.
Yeah.
It's to the scale with the model.
It's really impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's that's on my next to get shopping list.
Even people that won't play Legion will pick one up to put on their shelves.
Yeah.
Because not only that, but it's so easy to put together. So the whole head is just one piece.
Nice.
It's just one piece. It's like 16 pieces to this ATST. And you just,
So basically, when I'm fielding my army, I'm just going to have like 4 of them. That's it.
So you're only allowed 2, but that's legit. Yeah.
So let's actually get into the into Legion, shall we?
Yes.
You may start us off, Charles.
Yeah, sure. So recently, FFG dropped a small title called Legion. It is the on-the-ground pure tabletop game that they're running with their Star Wars IP. So we've had some Star Wars tabletop games in the past with Wizards of the Coast and different people trying different things, but none of it's looked overly spectacular and the rules were never overly impressive. But FFG, of course, are famous for their tight and mechanically clean rule sets just for X-Wing, which is, of course, now the most popular tabletop game out there.
Yes.
But lacking in certain ways. Obviously, the hobby side and the narrative event objective side, because it's mostly 100 on 100, just smashing against each other. And it just doesn't have the pureness of a true tabletop war game. And that's mostly the hobby aspect of it. So FFG tried to branch into that recently with Rune Wars. I don't think it was that successful, mainly because of the miniatures and the lore. No one was that interested in it. No one needs a new fantasy lore.
Yeah, look, I looked at it once in one of the game stores, and I looked, okay, there's some elves, sure.
Yeah. There's some guys with spear.
Yeah, okay.
There was nothing really interesting about, especially the good guys in it.
Yeah, like you needed sort of like, and we're talking broadly, like, if you think about the other, something like Warmer Hordes or War Machine or something which is out there. You know what? That has really interesting models. It has some really interesting lore around it. And if I remember correctly, those guys were also from 40K as well. So they went off, and that's they built a universe, and that's where I think Rune Wars.
I think a lot of people actually went to. I think a lot of people went to Hordes and stuff after
the
well, it was your only option. So in the past, we haven't had that many great options for a tabletop game, and Legion has come along and just blasted everyone away. Because right now, as I see it, it will be the main competitor for a true tabletop war game.
It also makes a whole lot of sense why Fantasy Flight lost the license to Games Workshop stuff.
They've wanted to do this for years, essentially, and Rune Wars was a bit of a test for them, and it's a move into a true hobby space, and people are going nuts for it, and a lot of people are transferring across.
Let's have a discussion about the difference between X-Wing and Legion in the sense of hobby.
Yep.
And what is a hobby? Like, hey, they're both tabletop games, they're both miniatures games. Why is one a hobby and one is not?
Yeah, sure. So X-Wing falls almost into the ball game tabletop kind of category because the pieces, they're already assembled, they're already painted, which is amazing and wonderful. And FFG have actually done pre-painted better than anyone has ever done it before. So I do not want to diminish the pre-painted aspect of X-Wing.
Yeah, and can I also say that it also acts as a gateway?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, for example, the reason I got back into tabletop gaming really was because X-Wing, it was like, I can buy the spaceships, I can put it on the table, and I can play. Also, I'm an average painter. Also, I don't have the time.
Time's the big one.
And like we were talking about before, many of us, if we look back into our deep, dark, scarred past, we'll have a Warhammer past.
All of them.
And
everyone.
And any of you know, and no offense to current players, because I love the game, love the lore, all the rest of it, but it's a time sink.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hundreds of hours I've spent painting armies.
Yeah.
But I love it. I love painting, and I love having a painted army. So X-Wing is that gateway, essentially. And what we're finding with Legion is that a whole bunch of X-Wing players who have never played Warhammer are looking at Legion, jumping across, trying and painting things and trying out new stuff, which is so cool. So what X-Wing's done for the wargaming community is just bring in a whole new market and made it so accessible to so many people that now can take that next little step.
So I'm going to make a bold claim here. Out of many of the Lucasfilm licensed properties and extended universe type stuff, when you think about the kerfuffle around their video games and all this kind of stuff, FFG have been knocking it out of the park.
They haven't really made a bad game.
No, like in terms of taking the Star... And this is the other thing which is bringing people in, which is having the Star Wars IP.
Yes.
It's the main one. Yeah,
that's the main thing.
I love it.
And what's one of the things, what have a lot of us in the X-Wing community been saying for a while, when you walk up to the table, a lot of people go, what are you playing?
Yes.
There's no chance of mistaking it here in Legion.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. You're looking at it and you're seeing Darth Vader, and it is definitively Darth Vader versus definitively Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, and Stormtroopers.
And ATSTs.
Yes.
Yeah, and all that'll be the case until they introduce a third faction and the whole thing goes haywire.
Yeah. So we'll basically see a scum army, just mercenary armies.
There's been a lot of talk about people like, oh, what armies would you want to have? I'm like, I don't even know if I want to have any more than 2 armies.
Yeah, so FFG have stated they really want to keep it within the original universe.
In the Galactic Rebellion.
Yeah,
Galactic Rebel era.
Including Rogue One?
We'll have to wait and see, won't we? Jeez, I hope so.
They better.
Yeah, because it fits. It all fits. So back to the hobby, just quickly. So hobby is painting, it's terrain, and it's putting images together. It's conversions. It's these kind of words that an X-Wing player might not even know really what they mean.
So just a quick one, because I'm looking at some of the models that you've brought, and we might have to put some photos up later on because your painting skills are fantastic. But I think these models seem to be largely prefabricated. I think I saw Mike's packets before that they seem to be kind of, you put them together as they come. Can these models be converted?
They sure can.
Okay.
So they do come in set stances. So what 40k does and what GW does is give you sprues that have a whole bunch of plastic on them, little tiny bits. So one Space Marine, which is your standard, 40k warrior thing, comes in about 8 to 16 different pieces, depending on how complex the miniature is. Whereas your basic Stormtrooper and Legion comes in 2 pieces. The really complicated Rebel Trooper comes in 3 because they've...
The captain.
That's it. They've gone with a different model. They wanted to make it super simple to put together because once again, they're looking for it to be a gateway into tabletop hobby now.
Yeah.
So they're always introducing the gateway and allowing people to get into it so easily. And what it also allowed them to do is make it a lot cheaper. As well. So the plastic's not as good as 40k. It's not as customizable as 40k, but it's about half the price. But what you can do, so it's got little lugs that are attached to the arms that go into the chest pieces, and that's the set standard pose. But people are just snipping those off, putting different arms on different troopers. They're cutting off heads.
Just experimenting.
Yeah, okay.
People are modelling their own alien heads. We're seeing some...
a lot of Twi'leks.
Twi'leks coming around. We got the hammerhead alien guy that I saw someone green stuffed, which is like a modelling putty that hardens. And just amazing stuff.
That's awesome.
Happening. Yeah, so
that's good to know.
It's happening. It's not as easy, but it's
definitely
happening.
not as easy.
And third-party support will come out for it. Alien heads.
That's already happened.
Yeah. People are doing it.
Well, in the age of 3D printing,
Exactly.
it'll be really easy.
Yeah.
So
there'll be a Star Wars Legion equivalent of. Did you ever go to Forge World and get Warhammer stuff from Forge World?
Yep.
Yeah, there'll be the Star Wars Legion equivalent of that.
The deluxe models, if you will. But terrain's the other big one. So with X-Wing, terrain's not practical because you've got your asteroids and your shipwrecks and whatnot. But you want them to be flat. And I've seen third-party companies that come out with asteroids, little 3D model ones, but you have to remove them almost at the start of the game as ships start flying onto the asteroids. So what's the point?
Yeah.
Whereas terrain, that is, by terrain, I mean little houses and little forests and little mountains and little whatever you can dream up, wreckages, everything, lava worlds. You have to represent them on the table. They have to be there.
Yeah.
If you paint them up, they're looking great. So it's little Star Wars worlds on a table. And I think that'll just pull people in.
So my dream of making a little Mustafar battlefield can happen.
And people are doing
the
it.
fight for Darth Vader's castle.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
So, shall we move on into the other thing that is different between X-Wing and Legion and the objectives-based game? Because Legion, as you stated earlier, we do have some objectives that come on the big box sets, mostly like, you bought this thing, but it's not a set game. It's not really a competitive game. It's just like, hey, you've now got this YV 1300, let it go, get stuff in this kind of fun game that you can play together. But Legion has a very interesting way of doing objectives. And maybe, Charles, want to tell us about objective-based gaming?
Yeah, sure. So FFG have, ever since they developed X-Wing, they've been trying to develop a game that is based on objectives. We saw it with Armada, and now we've seen it come to fruition with Legion. I'm just actually pulling out the objective cards here. So before the game starts, there's an entire little mini game where you and your opponent are working against each other to pick the what are they called? Here we go. The conditions, the objective, and the setup that best suits you. So there's this cool little mini game at the start. And essentially what it means is that every single game is going to have a narrative kind of created for it by the players in a little plug-and-play way mini game before it even kicks off. So objectives are the only things that score you victory points. Killing units does not score you victory points.
Unless the objective itself says kill.
None of the objectives currently set up.
Okay. Well, there you go.
If you have a squad of troops on the table, and I have a squad of troops on the table, and in the course of playing, I kill every single model you brought, can I still fail?
I don't believe so. I think that's how you win. If you manage to wipe everything out, you win. But this game is designed so that you're not killing lots of stuff easily. So the cover mechanics and the small amount of dice that you're rolling mean that killing an entire 800-point army in the space of only 6 turns, which is the limit of the game, is very, very difficult. It's gonna happen very rarely.
Now, 6 turns to you, to anyone who probably plays X-Wing, is like that's 5 minutes. maybe 10 minutes if I'm slow playing. But 6 turns in Legion is about 2 hours.
I really want to make it an hour and a half.
Okay.
If I can, once people know how to play or experience with the game, I think an hour and a half will be awesome if we can achieve that.
I think you mentioned it before. This is very similar to Armada in sort of how you establish that. So I think it's interesting how FFG have learnt from all their previous games, and this is like taking aspects of what was really great from this game, what was really great from this game, and just kind of mashing it together. So it's sort of it's distilling all their core lessons that they've learned about developing games. So I think that's what's really interesting.
And from other games as well. They've learned from other companies' mistakes and other things other companies have done well. And they've just I cannot overstate. So I've done a bunch of stuff with game mechanics and whatnot in the past, and I've designed my own little board game just for fun and here and there. So I understand what equals a fun mechanic, and that's what FFG has really tried to focus on, is the fun and the intuitive nature of gameplay. And I have not seen a better rule system for a tabletop game, and I've played them all. So that's my big
That's
thing.
a big
That's
call.
a bold claim.
It's a bold claim.
Yeah.
And people may argue certain skirmish games, like Infinity, have a technically or mechanically better game system, but this isn't a skirmish game when it comes down to it. It's a full tabletop game, even though the units are maxed out at 7. But I'm also okay. Oh, it's 6, I guess. But I'm also okay with that because it means you're not moving 100 models around a table, which who wants to do that?
The movement in it is interesting, how you move one and then you just all your other troops kind of just form around him.
Yep.
Which is, I think, it's a lot faster than...
Simplicity and cleanness is really what they've tried to focus on.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
narrative. We're focused on narrative.
Narrative.
Right? Yeah. So,
narrative. All right, cool.
So what Legion allows you to do is, because you're playing in the Star Wars world represented on the table, you are Darth Vader. You have Darth Vader on the table. You have his stormtrooper. Like I've based mine around his personal security force. The hobby combined with the table, combined with the missions, really drive you towards a narrative. Maybe FG hopefully one day will come out with generic characters that you get to give your own name to, and that's you on the table. And it's something that X-Wing, in its kind of tight competitive rule set that it's designed towards, where it's you and another person and you're just going all out to kill each other. Legion more so is based around the objectives, and if you have a read of them, you're capturing supplies, you're doing this. So I'm running my first proper Legion event in a couple of weeks up in Canberra. You might have seen at the Anzac Cup up there, and I've already developed, the first thing I developed for it this morning was a quick narrative to it. I haven't even come up with how the game's going to work yet, but the first thing I put out was the narrative of what's going on and what we're playing around.
Will you tell us a narrative now?
Yeah, sure. So the narrative is essentially the Emperor has fallen, in the following weeks, kind of vying warlords and rebel factions that have their own agenda are starting to vie. So I've kind of created a world that justifies why rebels might fight rebels and Imperials might fight Imperials. And it's them kind of, we're in the Corellian system, the 5 worlds, I believe, in the Corellian system, and we're fighting over those, which then justifies my different tables as well.
So I think for me, this is what I think is potentially really exciting, is because one of the elements I used to love, particularly what I'm seeing translating here from any of you who've played the kind of Total War series or those kind of strategic campaign-based things, which are these kind of like, there's this overarching narrative, this overarching campaign, and each little battle informs that, or is part of the story, or can help shape the outcome. And I think that's actually, whereas X-Wing, the 100 point is just...
It's like kind of like chess.
Yes.
I've always liked
That's a perfect
X-Wing
analogy.
chess,
Yes.
Except Legion is like chess, except it's also capture the flag.
Yes.
Also while playing a video game.
Yes.
with a cool map thing.
Yeah.
So my idea is that whether you win or lose your game, you'll get an achievement card, which will maybe if you lost on a certain map, you'll get this certain bonus compared to if you won on it, you get a slightly less bonus. So it then allows me to bring people up from losing and just doing interesting things that match the theme of the table to the theme of the army. In future events, I want to have equal Imperial and Rebel players, and they'll form teams, and they'll work together. And look, if you had X-Wing Armada to the side, you could then, of course, have the ships impacting the ground battles in different ways. And there's just so much you can do to bring that thematic and narrative sense to it.
Rebellion, the board game, to be played out over a weekend where there is a definitive leader and then people have to take sides with that would be a Rebellion board game because they've got Armada, they've got Legion now. Yeah, that's all you really need. That'd be awesome.
Little X-Wing skirmishes going on as
well. Exactly. That'd be sweet.
We've got the whole gamut from the galaxy down to the trooper on the ground. So.
Anybody who's interested in epic X-Wing is still crying because they're not feeling the love still. But that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard of people playing games of Armada, then immediately after that game ends, playing a game of epic X-Wing, then playing a game of just X-Wing, then playing a game of Imperial Assault.
Yep.
So they that was their version of a narrative, was to sort of marathon all those games together. I suppose now, you don't need to do all that.
No, that's it. What I think would be really cool is if you're playing a game of Legion and then a few feet above it you have a glass table. And
playing X-Wing.
Yeah, X-Wing's going on in this glass table and the X-Wing player can choose to fight these ships or do a strafing run on the ground. Yeah. I mean, so much potential for cool ideas.
Awesome. I imagined how could we play X-Wing and Legion in the same game at the same time, like calling in air support or something. I thought, well, that's ridiculous because the X-Wing models are so much smaller. But then I thought, no, it's forced perspective. It shows that they're really high up.
Yes.
So you can't see them because they're far away. That's why they're so tiny.
Just put them on really long pegs.
Yeah. Heaps of pegs at once. Yeah.
So get 10 pegs.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's the narrative side of it.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm really excited about because I love a story. And these games, and start with, involve, and end with a story. So,
any other things that have crossed over from X-Wing into Legion? Like any other rule systems?
So you got your custom dice.
Yes.
It's an FFG game. Got to have custom dice.
Of course.
And I'm pro custom dice because they give a result and they have kind of symbolism and imagery on the table. So I'm fine with that. But the movement templates is the big one.
Yes.
So every single war game that I've ever played has used a tape measure.
Yes.
That's what wargaming does. But I think it's almost a mental block that when board gamers see a tape measure, and I mean everyone's a board gamer these days. There's very few people in our Western society who don't play some form of board game. Yeah. But the second they see a tape measure, they freak out.
Yeah.
And they think that's too serious for me. Like they're in a basement, they're doing weird things with those tape measures. I don't want to be involved with that. So FFG.
Why is he holding 50 dice?
That's it. And rolling them all over himself. And it's creepy. But so FFG, for various reasons, have decided to go with movement templates, which of course emulates what X-Wing does. But I think why I really like these movement templates, look, they're still a little finicky on the table, but what they get rid of is this thing called range ruler creep.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know what that is, but essentially it's people using range rulers and pushing them out a little or not holding them exactly where they should and trying to get advantage out of it. And what FFG are famous for is the really tight rule system that ends in really good competitive play. Now, tabletop games like 40k and those kind of things have never been wonderful for competitive play. People try and do it, but it's not a good system to play competitively. I think Legion, on the other hand, will be able to, if one's inclined, to play very competitively, specifically because of these movement rulers and the way the rules are designed. So that's what they've tried to take from X-Wing, to try and keep it as clean as possible and as tight as possible to make it able to be played competitively and realistically.
And it seems like the characters have cards as well, like X-Wing has pilot cards. Because I should tell you, like like these guys, they're getting into Legion, even though I think they haven't had time to play a game yet. I don't know anything about Legion at all.
No.
So I don't like. You've just handed me this card here. I have no idea what this is.
So that's Darth Vader.
I know the words Darth and Vader, but everything else is it's just made up nonsense.
Yeah, there's weird colours on there and strange letters. So cards are there. Yeah, we have the cards.
The other classic FFG, I think there's a FFG trope. So we've got the custom dice, we've got the movement templates, and of course we have bags and bags of tokens.
Oh, we sure do.
Yeah.
There's over 100 tokens in the box set, isn't there?
So my daughter counted them when we cracked open the box tonight. She was sitting there, there's 100. Yeah, so it was like, which is good, because I think another way, like, there's all this paraphernalia that, it's like, it feels like an FFG game to me. Does that make sense?
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
So
that's,
are they like focus and evade tokens or what?
Pretty much. So you have aim and dodge tokens.
Yes.
You've got to use different words. And it's a new vernacular within
That's
your
not
game.
going to happen. I'm going to be calling them focuses. I'm going to be calling them dodge tokens.
So when in doubt, evade.
Yeah, exactly. So what is it? A precision token? What did you say?
Aim token?
An aim token. So an aim token is when you're attacking, it raises your chance to hit, and what was the other one?
A dodge token?
A dodge token.
It's essentially an evade.
Is an evade.
It's basically an evade.
Alright. So you don't modify your defense dice. You take these dodges and
Just gives you just a dodge. It just gets rid of a hit, just straight off.
If you were shooting at me and I had some of these tokens, I would spend a token and it would cancel one of your hits on me.
Sure would.
Okay.
Yeah, so X-Wing players are going to find it really
intuitive in that respect.
Really easy to transition across with the attack mechanics.
And actually, I think that does raise the point, because no doubt when they were thinking about this game, they probably were thinking about the sizable X-Wing community, which they would hope. I mean, they've already gouged out my wallet as it is, so if they want to keep doing that, they're going to want to make it easy for me. And I'll sort of say this in no false modesty. I'm probably like the ideal target audience for this kind of game, because I said I was away from gaming for a long time. I got back into it because of X-Wing. X-Wing was the gateway drug. This, for me, is just like a natural evolution. Like, I'm already comfortable and familiar with all of FFG's universe. I'm comfortable and familiar.
That's a good point. Like, learning how X-Wing works. It is a very, very similar game. It's even with firing arcs, like front arcs and rear arcs, they are in this game.
Yeah.
This is essentially the next level of that. Yeah. Which is a step you might not want to take, because it does involve hours and hours of painting.
Yeah.
But if you want to try it,
if you want to paint it, once again, you don't have to. Maybe spray your Rebel Army blue and the Imperials red, and then just crack on.
And look, there are plenty of other game communities where that's not like, I know people in the Warmer Horde community. A lot of people, when they go to tournaments, half their armies are painted and half of them aren't, because it just takes so long.
And let's not forget the fact that X-Wing models, even though it's unnecessary, they are paintable.
Yes. And you guys have done some wonderful custom jobs here as well. So
the other thing I'm wondering about with FFG and how successful they're being with X-Wing and with Legion is not to take away from the good, intelligent decisions they're making, because there have been many. I wonder if it's also them taking advantage of other people stumbling, because from what I gather, 40k is sort of fixed now. It's back on the right track, but for a long time there, 40k was a mess. So I wonder if FFG has kind of read the room and gone, right, if we can come out with a good product, because they're kind of stuffing theirs up, we can just sort of swoop in.
Yeah. So 40k has many, many issues. And look, I love 40k. I love the background of it, and we were discussing this before. I especially love the Horus Heresy stuff. Like, I was and still am deep in all of that stuff. Yeah. And GW have been doing amazing things in the last few years with community engagement. They've really picked up the game. The design of their models, especially Age of Sigma, is
the models
the best
are beautiful,
stuff
and also
I've
noticed, like, they're now trying to make it more accessible. Is in there they're selling kits with the paints that there's beginner kits. There's all kinds of stuff. So look. I'd give them a lot of credit.
But I think
there's a but. There's a big but though.
Yes.
But the big but is that their games are still stuck in the 90s. The way their games are designed and the way they play is the worst part of the experience of their games. The lore is wonderful. The models are stunning. They're the best in the industry. But their actual game, where you're rolling 40 dice, getting no result out of it,
that was one of the things that really turned me off. Was that you'd be rolling two fistfuls of dice, and be like, right, you'd look at a chart, be like, okay, is a 4 good? No, it's not, right. So we pick out every 4,
open a different book to find out.
That's what's so good about the custom dice, is that when you roll a dice, you go,
You know
right,
what's
a hit's a hit, and anything that isn't that isn't that.
Some war game is listening to this and just cursing you. How dare you?
Back in my day, we only had 6-sided dice.
They only had 5 sides, and we made 2. So Games Workshop's games are stuck in this old design mentality, and I think they kind of know it. And it doesn't end with fun gameplay and gameplay that's good for an actual competitive event. Whereas I think Legion, the rule set is just so balanced, and we use this word balance, and of course that comes from X-Wing as well, the different factions being balanced. And balance will be so important in this game because it's something that 40k utterly lacks.
Yeah.
So if F&G can maintain that with Legion, and they've seen the opportunity to do it and bring out a tight rule set, balanced factions, and they've released this and their fingers are crossed, and I think they're going to do really well.
Well, I'm holding in my hand here a 32-page rulebook.
And that's only the learn to play rulebook. That's not the real one.
No, that's the real one.
The real rulebook is online.
Yes.
And it's
only
online.
Only online, yeah, that's true.
But
Actually, I've seen that, yes.
The reason is because they can continuously update it.
Yes, that's true. Well, actually, that's really good.
That's good. So you don't have to buy a new rulebook every year.
40k's up to its 8th edition, and you have to buy every single new edition. Whereas F&G with Legion, their rulebook is only online. They will update it whenever they want. They will add new things whenever they want.
Is it free? Could I look
it's
and
free.
read the book right now?
You could read it right now. PDF. G to G, it's 10 megabytes, go nuts, and it's great. And it's actually, the rule set isn't complex, but the rule book is 50 pages long. And that's because they've been so careful about spelling out every kind of situation you can come up against.
This is the problem with X-Wing, is like the wording on cards is so very specific because the way turns work and stuff that happens before here and after this part, or, do this, then this, but then you can't do this. It's X-Wing rule systems are always being constantly updated with erratas and FAQs, and this is going to have that issue. But as I said, since it's a PDF, they can just do that.
Yep, and with updating of the cards, now obviously it's a card game and card text is going to change, but it won't change physically in your hand. FFG have shown with Destiny, which is a game that I've been playing recently, another example of FFG releasing just an amazing game. They're very conservative with the changes they make to cards, and try to change their rule set more so that they can develop and change without people having to throw away their cards or worry about them not having the right text on them. So I don't think we have to stress with that. FFG have shown they're very active with facts, FAQs, and updating their rule set and making sure their gameplay is balanced and fun and rewarding. So that's that.
So before we move on to laws, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, so the third way X-Wing and Legion will differ, now that we've talked about how they're the same a little, is the purchase model. So the biggest complaint I hear about X-Wing is that it's got a catch-em-all mentality. Whereas, how many ships have you bought, for instance, that you've never put on the table?
None.
Really? Good for you.
But I don't buy a whole lot of ships.
Okay.
I buy the ships I want to fly.
Yeah, I'm guilty.
So people,
I bought a lot of ships over the years that I thought I got to buy it because it's new, and I've always played with them. But then a couple of months, or if I really cracked it, a few weeks would go by, and I just chuck it on eBay. So
do you?
Yeah, I used to. I don't do that anymore.
Really?
Now I don't buy something unless I know I'm going to use it.
Yeah, a lot of people with X-Wing or at least people are convinced there's this idea in the community that if you want to be competitive in X-Wing, you have to buy all the ships and you have to buy multiple copies of them to get specific cards. The Star Viper expansion being the perfect example with the auto thrusters, I believe. People were not flying the Star Viper because it wasn't that competitive, but they needed 3 auto thrusters. So, they'd drop $100 just to get these 3 tiny cards. So, and FFG have gauged the community and kind of understood that people aren't that keen on that for obvious reasons. But you got to sell models.
Especially with Legion, because the price point is not the same. The price point is not a $25 ship. It's a
$40 unit. Yeah, that's Australian dollars. So it's a little bit higher, not that much higher considering, but a little bit higher. So FFG have taken that into consideration, and what we're seeing is with this first wave, and hopefully it continues, is that the only way, you can buy just the Imperial side, so no Rebels at all, and have all the cards you need, including all of the neutral cards. You can play your army as competitively as you want to the max level without ever having to buy a unit from the other faction.
Do you have to buy the core set, though?
Yes.
And is it like X-Wing? The core set has Rebels and Imperials in it?
Yep. Yes. But it's actually amazing value. So but people are buying 2, and not even blinking an eye.
Owen and I actually bought a starter kit each, and we split it down the middle. I've taken all the Imperial. He's taken all the Rebel.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
and
that
then
works.
Yeah. And all you need to do then is add, if you're Rebels, a T-47 Airspeeder, or if you're the Imperials, an ATST, and you actually have an 800-point competitive army.
Yeah.
For like $200.
Yeah.
Now, if you've ever played 40k, $200 will not be enough to buy you the rule set.
It might get you a Lord.
Yeah. So the pricing on this is just spectacular.
I do want to ask about the pricing of the commanders. I haven't... Do you know what that is yet?
No, we don't know, because the only commanders we've got at the moment come in the Corset. Veers, and Leia will come out soon, and I'm expecting them to be around the $20 mark, $20 to $25 mark, which
I guess
that's fine for me,
commanders are... You can buy single models of GW and $50.
Yeah, it's 60 these days.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I was saying. Like, I was looking at getting into Hordes a little bit. Like, I was interested in that, but then kind of what was sort of pushing me away from that was kind of like, I don't know, it's like $60 on one model. I was kind of like,
an ATST costs $80 retail.
Exactly, that's what I mean.
And it's huge.
And it's huge. And it's stunning. Yeah. So the price is the price point and the collectability of this game is a really good factor of it. So if you only want to play Imperials, you can do that, and you will be as competitive as anyone else.
Okay, you know what? I think we need to do a shout out to the unsung heroes of FFG, which are the model makers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
You know, we talk about the game, we talk about the mechanics, all the rest of it, but I'm gonna say, I know the quality of the plastic is not the same as say the GW and stuff like that. But you know what? They're actually really good models.
The models are dynamic and interesting to look at.
They're interesting to look at. The fact that people can convert them and all the rest of it is all the rest of it. Their models for X-Wing have always been beautiful and stunning, and that they're often that's the eye candy that gets people into the game as well. But I will say that I think it's fantastic. They're beautiful looking models, and I'm excited to get back into painting for that reason.
Yeah, and they're big. They're nice and big.
Yes,
so
exactly.
They're so easy to paint because they're so big and robust.
That's right.
Yeah.
This game is made for sort of average painters exactly like me.
And thinking of complimenting the model makers, I know they haven't come out yet, but to whoever was able to design it so the T-65 X-Wing could have folding wings, congratulations on your graduation from Hogwarts, because it's obviously magic. However you were able to do that.
I need to
Do they fold flat?
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah.
So that's confirmed, is it?
Yeah, that's confirmed. I didn't believe
Wow.
that it was going to be possible, because I just was picturing there's got to be like hollow space inside the model somehow for it to fit in. I'm
And
just
two
thinking,
rail
how is it-
systems for each
Yeah,
wing.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? Whatever's going on in there is very complex.
No, definitely. The models are great. And it seems like it's strange that's the last thing we've talked about. But for a miniatures game, the miniatures is what sells it. The miniatures are the most important part. And they've definitely ticked all the boxes. They look fantastic.
I want to say that I would play a game that was good if the game was good no matter what. But if someone gave you a rule book for the most enjoyable, perfectly balanced game ever, but the models looked like crap, like, would you want to own them?
No, definitely not. And I want to own these just to put on a shelf. Let alone play a game with them. So,
and Mike has a shelf over there of all his X-Wing and Armada
and
stuff.
epic stuff.
Yeah, and that looks nice, and it just does. And these will definitely look good on the shelf as well.
Yeah,
Same
exactly.
sort of quality. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we shall move on to lore.
To defeat an enemy, you must know them. Not simply their battle tactics, but their history, philosophy, art.
Alrighty, so I honestly have no idea how long this segment's going to be, because I've written a lot of stuff on this pad, but some of it's going to be like real quick. So yeah, alright. The Wookiees, there are things that we all know about the Wookiees. They come from Kashyyyk.
They're hairy.
They're hairy. They live in trees.
Yes,
All right.
they do indeed. They are like good versions of Ewoks.
Yeah. So, well, in fact, in Return of the Jedi, that he wanted that set on Kashyyyk originally, but they couldn't quite get it done, so they made up Endor and they made up the Ewoks. That was supposed to be the Wookiees, but
I was reading that the other day.
battle that you saw at the end of Revenge of the Sith with the droids and the Wookiees and that was what he wanted Return of the Jedi to be. But,
oh, really?
All right, so Wookiees in their language, Wookiee is people of the trees, because the trees are not just literally they're huge within Wookiee culture. So they're an arboreal mammal, which just means they live in trees, but they've got these retractable claws. So you can't see them on Chewie, so you never see them in the movies, but they've got big claws that kind of pop out. They use them for climbing the trees. They're 2.1 meters tall, which is 7 feet.
That's massive.
Yeah. 7 feet tall, and their fur, which I always used to wonder, why is a tree animal furry? The fur is for repelling water, and I realized at the height that they're living, there's going to be all this fog and all this moisture, so the fur is for keeping them dry. And I don't know, up that high they might be cold as well. So a Roshia tree, which can grow to 400 meters or 1,312 feet. That's what they live in. They build their cities in the trees. The tree branches sort of grow together, and they use them as roads.
That's massive.
Yeah. So everything in Kashyyyk is big, is tall.
So take the Ewoks and just scale everything
Scale
up.
them up.
Yeah.
And seriously, no, Ewoks were the budget Wookiee.
We've got children to get in these fursuits.
That's right.
Get in there.
Yeah.
All right. So Wookiee translates to people of the trees, but Wookiee is their word for all the different races, because they have different races within their species. I guess same as we do. Theirs is sort of distinguishable by fur. So slightly different kinds of Wookiees do look slightly different. So the thing, of course, the Wookiees are most famous for is their supposedly violent temper. We all know that a Wookiee will just sort of flip out and tear you to pieces, except maybe they won't. When I was researching them, I found that a lot of really contradictory stuff. There were these paragraphs that went to great pains to describe how, a Wookiee, all he wants to do is destroy you. But there were just as many that said that Wookiees are really placid and slow to provoke. So I think those things are maybe not supposed to be mutually exclusive.
I think I can explain that a little.
Yeah.
So the reason people think that Wookiees go nuts is because Chewbacca gets really angry a lot throughout the movies, right? But I think you'll notice when he does that, it's because Han's being threatened.
Yeah.
So Chewbacca has a life debt to Han.
Yeah.
So his main goal and his life now belongs to Han and is to protect Han, and then by proxy Leia later on when Han and Leia are together. So him getting angry is usually because Han's being threatened, because that's his main agenda, is to protect Han. So I think that may justify it.
Yeah, that's good. I like that, because the way I looked at it was the Wookiees, because part of it is they're not really warlike, but they are extremely good at defending themselves. I sort of imagine that a Wookiee, they'll give you a chance to back off and leave them alone, but if you don't take that chance, they will wreck you. Because I found that in the Star Wars universe, there's a word Wookienate, which to Wookienate something is to render it harmless beyond the point of necessity. Rendering it more harmless than you necessarily need to.
Like remove its limbs?
Yeah, Wookienate, to render something harmless with excessive force. People tend to think of Wookiees as being uncivilized, which is not fair, because they are. Wookiees do occasionally fight each other, as you might expect, but they have, culturally, they have strict rules against using those long claws I was telling you about. If a Wookiee uses their retractable claws in a fight against another Wookiee, they will be labeled a mad claw and banished.
Ooh. There you go.
Yeah, so they really do, they have, as you mentioned, the life debt is one of their forms of honor, but they have a bad reputation, which is unfortunate.
It might be incredibly fortunate for the Imperials, considering they use them as slaves all the time.
Yeah, we're going to get to that.
Oh, here we go.
All right. So I'm
just saying it's Imperial propaganda. They're actually nice people. We're just Imperial propaganda.
The Empire's just trying to make them look bad.
They got it in everyone's head.
Yeah.
So as you might have noticed if you've watched the trailer for upcoming Solo where he says, "You're 190 years old. You look great." Wookiees are an incredibly long-lived species. They are known to live for multiple hundreds of years. For example, at the time of this movie that's coming out, Chewie's apparently 190, and when he dies, because in Legends now he is actually killed, he lives to the age of 225, which sucks because a Wookiee is considered in their prime at 200. Yeah. So I mean, we would all be 200-year-old Wookiees without breaking a sweat. All of us sitting here. So a Wookiee is middle-aged when they're 300. Old at 400, but they're considered adult at 18. So when someone's
party.
Yeah, exactly. So when someone in our society is kind of 19 or 20, you sort of think, all right, yeah, you're an adult, but you're also a kid. Imagine being that for 182 years.
You can have a great time.
Yeah.
So Chewbacca's still in the midst of his extended adolescence.
Yeah, basically.
Just coming out of it.
Yeah, 150-year-old Wookiees are always coming up to him asking him to buy them booze. Look, unfortunately, the Star Wars Christmas special does exist, and in that there's Chewie's family, because he does have one. Actually, he is married, and so I used to wonder about that, but considering how long they live for, their perception of time is really different to ours. So it's culturally normal for Wookiees to leave home for really long periods of time. So they won't see their family for like decades. But then when they get back, the family will be like, "Oh yeah, I haven't seen you for a bit. What's going on?" And that's the extent of it. But so, when a Wookiee is really young, the first thing they're taught is to respect nature. They grow up in the nursery, which is funny because a nursery is both where young children and plants are grown. So they grow up in a nursery, and they're also taught woodworking and survival skills, which I think is pretty awesome. I found an old saying that says, if you give a Wookiee a knife and send them into a forest in the morning, in the evening they'll have carved you a table to eat dinner on and a house to put it in. So Wookiees, they're amazing environmentalists. If you've seen any art depicting their culture, you'll notice it's absolutely beautiful. But Wookiees, they have no word for art. So they will.
That's just life.
Yeah. So they'll make a city that when nature is perfectly preserved, and they'll make what they need out of wood, and it will look absolutely amazing. It'll be really beautiful, but they don't consider it art. They're just like, this is how you make it. You just make a thing good.
Get good scrub.
Yeah. So humans will be like, "Oh wow, that's artistic," and Wookiees are like, "No, that's normal."
I guess they've got the time.
They've got the time.
So a master woodworker for humans is 60 years. That's I guess an afternoon for them.
Yeah. All right.
I need to dedicate a tenth of my life to something.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's why the Wookiee life debt is such a feasible thing, because Chewie could conceivably live with Han for the rest of Han's life, and when Han dies, Chewie won't be an old man.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of cool. Right. So Wookiees, the different tribes and the different races, they have their different adulthood rituals that you must complete to be an adult. They vary. So some Wookiees have to retrieve silk from inside giant carnivorous plants. So imagine Victory Bell, the Pokemon. Chewie has to jump in there, and or some of them they have to camp in the Shadowlands, which is the ground.
Wait, so just go on the ground, put up camp, and be like, that'll
sure there's some nasty stuff down there. Though.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If you're a Wookiee, being on ground level kind of sucks. So even though Wookiees seem to be primitive, as we got to before, and they didn't originally have technology, and most of their aptitude comes from living from nature. They're naturally inquisitive. They're very intelligent, and they have an aptitude for learning and quick learning, which made them natural problem solvers. So the way they got hyperdrive in the first place, and I can say this because all fandoms are valid, somebody broke the Prime Directive. And that's how Wookiees got hyperdrive. They studied a Trandoshan ship as it turns out, and as we know from one of Owen's lore sections before, and just because we're all horrible Star Wars nerds, the Trandos and the Wookiees really don't get along, because it's part of Trandoshan culture to hunt the Wookiees. But that's like way back at the beginning, the Trandoshans just sort of found them. So wait.
So the Trandos just found Wookiees, had a half decent fight. We're like, we're gonna hunt you forever.
Turns out they hold a grudge, and I'll tell you that starts to involve the Empire.
It's the Trandoshan religion, which was all about scorekeeping. So
they just thought, hey, you're a pretty decent guy to fight.
So you like a 7 foot tall monster is kind
I'm
of like,
a 7 foot tall monster.
Yeah.
You're a 7 foot tall monster. Let's go.
Yeah. It's kind of
you know
like
what? And it's almost like the Predator Alien franchise as well.
Yeah,
It's a challenge.
It's a challenge. It's a challenge.
So the Trandoshans were scouting Kashyyyk for settlement, and the Wookiees defended themselves. It was brutal, but the Wookiees fought the Trandoshans off. The Trandos, they just bailed and they left a ship behind, which the Wookiees pulled apart, studied, and put back together. And the Trandoshans held a huge grudge about it. Like, as you're right, Owen, it's like you and me forever. But it's said that nobody combines technology and nature better than the Wookiees. So we know from the Ozatuk gunship, which is partly made of wood, but it's a spaceship somehow. And you remember from playing Republic Commando, they had technology stuff like weapons and healing stations just growing out of the trees, and so that's the way they do things.
That's an awesome game, by the way.
Yeah.
The original trilogy spells it out. I mean, Chewbacca spends most of his time deep in the Millennium Falcon fixing things.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Which is pretty impressive for a species that would never have invented something like that on their own, and he lived most of his childhood, in trees. But as Owen mentioned, one of the most famous things about the Wookiees is the fact that they are Imperial slaves. And it turns out, and I did not know this, it turns out it was the Trandoshans' idea.
Of course.
Jokes. Yeah. The Wookiees, when they first got hyperdrive, they kind of stuck their head in space the first time, being like, oh man, what's out here? And they were discovered by the Corellians. The Corellians started setting up deals with them that were basically rip-offs. Then Alderaan found out about Kashyyyk, and Alderaan was like, no, we got this thing called the Republic. Come hang out with us, and the Corellians will leave you alone. So after the Republic becomes the Empire, which remember from the end of Revenge of the Sith, it's like the Republic were there to defend Kashyyyk, and then with a snap of your fingers, all of a sudden they're the Empire. They immediately became an occupying force, and nobody saw it coming, which is kind of brilliant. So the Empire just controlled Kashyyyk immediately. So like straight away, the Black Scale clan says to the Empire, hey, you know all those unruly Wookiees, if you're looking to kind of subcontract keeping those people in line, I mean, we can do it, if you guys want. Look, we're not busy. We're not saying you couldn't do it, but if you want us to do it, we will. The Black Scale clan, they're able to establish, using these prophets, and they're able to establish an orbital base over Kashyyyk, and the Empire was like, actually, that's a pretty good idea. We'll just grab all these great big, strong creatures and use them for constructing bits of the Death Star.
Oh.
Yes. So as I don't think this was alluded to originally, but then Rogue One kind of built on this, and I know I'm blending Legends and canon, but the Death Star was built in different pieces in different parts of the galaxy. It was designed and built by different teams, so nobody knew what they were making. Yeah, I think...
Is that the whole thing about the main story? Is like he knew he was making a weapon for the Death Star. He didn't know what the Death Star was.
No. Originally, actually, Galen Erso was told that he was making sustainable energy with kyber crystals. And then he found out it was a big gun. He was like, oh, man! Yeah. So the liberation of the Wookiees was a story that I liked as well. So after the Battle of Endor, Chidduck, who is Chewie's father, I don't know if he's still knocking around in canon, but in Legends he was pretty big. So he gets in contact with Chewie and he's like, hey man, heard the Empire fell, we could use a hand, what are you guys up to? And the rebels who were busy trying to become the New Republic, they just couldn't do it. They couldn't get there. So this guy called Moff Dark and a Trandoshan named Pect are still killing Wookiees, which is not on. So Han and Chewie just like, okay, if you want something done right, you do it yourself.
Smuggled a bunch of weapons there, didn't they? I think I read this.
So Han and Chewie, I'm not sure if they took weapons, but they were able to kind of get the ball rolling on a resistance. So Han and Chewie land near this city, who I'm not even going to have a crack at pronouncing it. They land near a city, which is on the ground, which is quite rare. Yeah, a ground city, which is very rare. So it must have been So I'm assuming it would have been.
Stay there, become a man.
So they land this ground city, which presumably was put there by the Imperials, and they're able to liberate a group of slaves. Now all of a sudden these, the slave, which it happened in real life in history, slaves always outnumber the people who have enslaved them. And so once they were freed, very big, very angry Wookiees were able to fight off very stormtroopers. And so after that they were able to kind of move from small victory to small victory. There was a Wookiee, he turned out to be a traitor actually, Weebucker, I think his name was. He was telling them that there were signal jammers, and that was stopping them getting communications off the planet, which would have allowed them to call in reinforcements. So they destroy these signal jammers and eventually wreck Moff Dark's palace, but they find that they're still planning on stealing all these, stealing Wookiees. So after the signal jammers are destroyed, the rebels have found out that this revolution, I guess, is kind of underway. So they think, all right, well, we'll actually get there and help them finish it off now. So they capture on the ground. They capture an Imperial airbase, which they use to get to that orbital station over Kashyyyk. And they're met by Rogue Squadron and Lando. So Lando's in the Falcon and Luke's in his X-Wing. And Han and Chewie are able to rescue the last of the prisoners on the airbase, which Luke and Lando blow up. So I realized that was kind of a short explanation of that, but it was what I was able to piece together from the narrative of the Wookiee campaign in Galactic Battlegrounds.
Oh, yeah.
That the Star Wars RTS that was Age of Empires. Yeah, so in Legends, the story of the liberation of the Wookiees was actually played out in a video game.
Can you get that on good old games?
You certainly can.
I am getting it on good old games.
Yeah. But that's the Wookiees, and and how they live and how they originally came to be enslaved, and a very short version of how they were freed.
I like it. I learned a bit there.
Yeah. Same. I really enjoyed that. I was thinking, and I think it's probably worth mentioning that. Don't know. It was great. I'll be honest. I didn't know much about the Wookiee, so I feel educated. But it actually makes me think also. I know Lucas did want to put in Revenge of the Sith. There's that big battle on Kashyyyk. Like he had a bee in his bonnet, and this is actually why. So we've been joking about the Star Wars holiday special. Lucas always wanted to make a film about Wookiees. He was like so keen on the idea of the Wookiee, so that's why the Star Wars special. So back in the day when the television network went to him, he said, "We want to make a Star Wars special. It's the biggest movie, whatever." And he said, "Yeah."
Got an idea.
No, he's like, on one condition. Wookiees.
Oh.
Yeah, serious. And
it sucks because that's so bad. I haven't seen it, but I'm assuming it's so bad.
It's horrendous.
These Wookiees sound really interesting. I could absolutely see a story based on them.
Yeah. So like that, and sort of, they're meant to be in Return of the Jedi, etc., etc. But so Lucas is, he's when he had total control over everything, you had to have a battle on Kashyyyk.
Was there any story arc in either Rebels or Clone Wars that focused specifically on the Wookiees?
Early. I think actually
Rebels.
In the very first episode of Rebels is the introduction of the Autotuck gunship.
Is it?
I think so. I don't.
It's very early, but they're freeing a bunch of Wookiees from the Trando slavers.
Yeah.
So basically, everything that's important about Wookiees is they're often slaves and they often have to be rescued.
I mean, that does kind of make them sound like the Princess Peach of the Star Wars galaxy. But
it kind of does. Yeah, that's right. It's the first time that Kanan pulls out his lightsaber and he puts the two bits together and he goes saves the Wookiees.
Yes.
All the Wookiees are always being saved.
Hmm.
They're supposed to be these terrifying things, but they're always being saved.
Except in some old school, it's legends, what we're calling the old EU.
Yeah.
So Princess Leia, when she's being chased by the Nogri, Vader's or Thrawn's using them to hunt.
The Nogri Rook from Rebels.
Yeah,
That's
that
species.
So he's that whole species. They're hunting Leia, and she goes to the Wookiees for protection, and they protect her. And then stormtroopers come, and there's this big battle. It's super sick. So check that out if you want to see the Wookiees.
I want to. I'm actually
doing something
disappointed.
different.
I'm disappointed that Dave Filoni didn't make a whole thing on Wookiees. He did a whole arc on Trandoshans and how the way they lived, how they captured Ahsoka Tano, and like basically put them into like the world's deadliest game, like release you and we'll go hunt you down now. Like there was an entire like 3 or 4 part like bit on that. I'm surprised they didn't do one for Wookiees. That would have been cool.
The battle, the Kashyyyk battle in Revenge of the Sith is pretty cool. Like whatever you think about the prequels, it's pretty cool.
Can I just that's why I think that stands out visually, because the Wookiees, when they're sort of all on the beach and they all stand and go.
That's cool.
And that's cool. Look, I found the vast majority of the battles in the prequels to be bloodless, kind of just CGI toys smashing into each other. But I did actually appreciate that, because I think it was just different aesthetically and all the rest of it. So I think I'd like to see more. I would say I'm happy for more Wookiees. And just to tie things back here, we need a Wookiee unit in Legion.
Wouldn't that be lovely? We've talked about this.
With bowcasters and, come on.
And vibro axes.
That's right, exactly. And then your shock troops.
You should read about the Wookiee Berserkers. That was something I nearly didn't bring up because I thought we weren't going to have time. The Wookiee Berserkers have these blades that almost as tall as a Wookiee.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
we need that.
And they're just relentless. Like, Wookiees actually don't have their own native style of combat.
Yeah.
So to an outside observer, it often looks like the Wookiees don't know what they're doing. The Wookiees know exactly what they're doing. But yeah, the Wookiees, when they're in combat, they just kind of maul you, and that's
Wookiee Berserkers in Legion. It has to happen. Because there is a close combat rule for Legion. And it's not great. I mean, the only people who are really good at close combat are Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker, and everyone else kind of
classic melee units.
You'll find stormtroopers are better in melee than they are at shooting. Keep that in mind.
There you go.
It's because they can't shoot with their gun, but they'll club you with it.
Club you hard.
Wookiees are a special unit in Battlefront, which makes me think that... I mean, I realize it's different, like that's an EA thing, but it might be that in future waves, when they release elite or heavy units, they might think, Squad of Wookiees.
Wookiees elite, absolutely.
And look, if they follow maybe the model of Imperial Assault, where they'll be releasing hero units and stuff like that. You'll see Chewbacca, you'll see Han on the battlefield, I'm sure.
Han's been announced.
Yes.
He's coming.
Well, there you go.
Leia's coming, Han's coming.
Leia's coming.
Did they fix
have they fixed the controversy about Leia's model? Because when there was a kerfuffle about...
Absolutely not.
It still was... Okay.
So I'm pretty sure it's the paint job. That's our theory.
Okay.
The model, I think, will be fine.
Yeah.
It won't be, brilliant, amazing, because once again, we're not GW here. We don't have that technology. FFG simply don't have that technology. They don't have that experience. They don't have that equipment.
Yeah.
And they don't want their models to cost that much.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
look, they won't be as good as 40k characters. Will it look okay on the tabletop? Yeah, sure. I think she'll be fine, but she'll need a good paint job.
Yeah.
All right, let's close out this episode.
It was I who allowed the Alliance to know the location of the shield generator. It is quite safe from your pitiful little band. An entire legion of my best troops awaits them.
Oh, it's the end of the night. It's 9:30 and the sun is down and everything is normal in the world once again. As per normal, we like to do some shout-outs, but I think before we do any of those, we'd like to pass it over to you, Charles.
Yeah, so for anyone that missed at the start of the episode...
I rudely got the name wrong.
That's right.
Sorry.
There's no miniatures anywhere, but there could be. My name's Charles, and I am from Star Wars Tabletop Gaming. We are a YouTube channel. That's where you can find us, and I do mostly Legion content. A little bit of Destiny, a little bit of that, but mostly Legion, and we'll be doing tons more in the very near future. We're also on Facebook as a page on there, and we've got a cheeky Instagram as well if you're interested in checking that out.
Is that where you post pictures of your minis?
Pictures of my minis, pictures of painting as I'm doing them, and pictures of battles that I'm playing as well that I simply don't have time to record.
And you should look at those because some of Charles's miniatures are on table here right now, and we're looking at them, and they're very, very good.
So Stormtroopers are red.
Yeah,
we'll say painting red is quite a difficult colour, and you've done it really well.
So I have a bit of a complex because the guy that I play with all the time, Rhett, he's a much, much, much better painter than me. So my miniatures look like rubbish compared to his, but thank you very much. I'll take it. I'll take what I can get.
I've seen his miniatures. They are kind of spectacular.
Yeah, you reckon red is the hardest colour to paint? I've never been able to paint yellow. Yellow is
that
hard
is the
to
hardest.
paint.
Yellow,
Yeah.
white, red is not great because the pigment in the paints is not fantastic.
Yeah.
Getting off topic here.
I absolutely. But just saying, white being the hardest colour to paint and all the Stormtroopers are white, it's just a thing. Okay, let's move on to shoutouts.
So we're going to shout out to people who've been liking and following us on the Podbean app. So thank you very much for that. So that includes Jolan Rack, who liked our last episode. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah. And I wanted to shout out to Giancarlo Jerry, who shared one of our pictures in Peru and called us his amigos. And we are your amigos, and you are our amigo also.
Gisley Bragson. Oh my god.
Bragason.
Thought we were a bit harsh on... we can't do Star Wars names.
Crassus Trellix.
Crassus Trellix. When we did our episode where we sort of said maybe the Imperial Fire Spray pilots aren't that good, Gisley went, hey, I know what you mean about Kath and Boba, but come on, Crassus Trellix was okay.
He can re-roll a attack on a secondary weapon, which is it's there, it's a thing.
It's okay.
I repainted my Slave 1 to look like Crassus Trellix, so it had an orange surround instead.
I didn't know that.
That's
Cool.
Have you still got it?
No, I haven't still got it. So if you bought an orange Slave 1 on eBay like 18 months ago, that was mine, and I hope you enjoy it.
Put up a pic.
Yeah.
Joseph Woodworth has a theory about the TIE Reaper, which I'm interested in. But what if the airloins are green moved so you can use a systems officer twice in a turn?
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
That'd be alright.
Yeah, that's not bad.
That'd work alright.
That'll be okay.
It's it's not advanced ailerons, is it?
Yeah, the aileron. It's got an aileron move, kind of like the TIE Striker, which their maneuvers not boost, so they could be green.
Could be cool.
I mean, yeah. That would make the ship a lot more maneuverable if you were stressed from a move in the last turn. If you know the dial has red on it, and then your pre-move move is green, so then you could kind of do 2 red moves in a row. Actually, that sounds a bit too powerful, actually. But hey, systems officer, right?
Yeah, that's a thing.
I want to shout out to Bruno Laviguier. Again, sorry. He comes from Quebec, which is Canada, but he speaks French as his first language. He makes French content at his podcast, The Millennium Condor, which I think is what the Millennium Falcon is called in the French dubs, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, he likes our
Didn't
show,
know that.
and he said that even though French is their primary language, 1 out of all their episodes is in English, and he said if we ever listen to it, to let him know. And I did listen to it, and I think it's good. And if I spoke French, I would listen to your show. And if you make more English episodes, I will listen to them because I like the one I listened to. So kind of like our friends Gold Squadron who make the Spanish content. Look up Millennium Condor if you or anyone you know speaks French.
Or if you're really dedicated to learn French.
Or if you're really dedicated, learn French.
Yes.
And
X-Wing, bringing the world together.
Yeah, exactly.
I just thought we would say big congratulations to David Leslie. He's a store friend of yours, isn't he?
He is. So he hangs out at GKG or Gatekeeper Games, and we hang out. I mean, I know him. I've touched him.
I like it. I like his glasses.
Yeah, I shook his hand last week.
Yeah.
And he won Victorian regionals with Ray and Lorick, and yeah, good on you, man.
Well done, David.
Yeah, well done.
A mate of ours.
I remember he came on the show because he was going overseas.
He
went
went
to
to
Wales.
Wales. Yeah.
And he did a very respectable.
I think he came like 18th or something.
Something like that,
or
yeah.
like 32nd. I don't know. Numbers.
Yeah, it was pretty. Yeah.
But out of like 200, 300 people,
exactly.
that's spectacular.
Yeah. David Leslie, a really good guy, much good at X-Wing also. Yeah. So Victoria is the state in Australia where we live, and so I just realised that we actually have to say that.
Don't we?
Yes.
Yes. So, Kevin Allsworth from Sydney, an Australian city, for those of you
Not
outside.
in Victoria.
Not in Victoria.
In New South Wales.
In New South Wales, yes.
Sydney's called that Canberra exists.
Yes. Yes.
They just let us be the capital of the country.
They would say the same to us, though.
They'd be wrong.
Yeah. Anyway, he said he's looking forward to PAX this year. And said he likes the show, so thank you very much. Yes, we will be at PAX. So last year I was responsible for running the X-Wing demonstrations and the 32-point competitions. I'd be hoping to repeat that again. And we also, all three of us there at one point as well. So if you are thinking about PAX in Melbourne, we'll be there.
Yeah,
say hello.
I'll be there too.
And Charles will be there too.
Yay!
Come play some Legion.
Come play Legion.
yeah.
Come play X-Wing.
Yeah.
Make it a whole big thing.
Yeah.
Play both, one and then the other. It'll be make a story about it. It'll be fantastic.
That's it.
If anyone, So come join, come say hello. It'll be great.
Yes.
All right, now last one, big one, hot diggity dog. Apparently, roughly about an hour or 2 hours before we started recording this show, we were given a heads up by Brendan Morrissey, and he's
Good
been
old Brendan.
Brendan, he's a good guy. He's been on the show before as well.
Yeah. No, he hasn't been on the show with us. But he's been a follower of ours since right at the beginning, so we really owe him for that.
Didn't I interview him in like the very first episode? No. Okay. God, I'm sorry. I just assumed he did because he's been like a good friend of ours.
Oh,
he's a good friend of the show, and he's a very good player.
Yeah, he's a fantastic player.
Very good player.
So he let us know that we've been nominated, and not just nominated, but we're in the finals for best new show, best
new X-Wing podcast for an award called the Goldies, which Gold Squadron podcast are doing.
They're massive.
And they're massive.
They are, so that's an honour, so thank you.
We aren't massive, but we might be the best new show.
Yes!
Maybe if you
bring it in for Australia. Come on, guys. Even if you're not from Australia, bring it in.
Yep, if we win, we get to go to the awards ceremony or flights paid for.
I don't think that's part of it. But we will say it is, and then call them out on it. So other people who've commented and liked that post that Brendan sent out. Michael Stefan, Emmanuel, Ben Hibbert, James Williams, Harry Nick, Ricky Skipper. They've voted for us, and look, thanks very much, guys. I was just blown away.
It is an honour. It is very
absolutely an honour.
Yes.
Like it was. I think the initial post came out, and it was just like, just say who you think is the best one, and then we were top 4.
But yeah, I originally thought we were up for a best international podcast, which I thought made sense. We're not American, but then it turns out we're in the finals for best new podcast. So
best international doesn't exist.
Yeah, so we're up against some really famous names, which it's just nice to be associated with them. So yeah.
All right. I guess that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you, everyone, for listening to us. Yes, background music. There is background music. Oh, what does that mean? I don't know. Good night, everyone.
A galaxy in rebellion. With rebel cells rising up across the galaxy, the Hutt crime families once again grow in strength. Deep in the Outer Rim, the veteran smuggler Blitz Corden and his trusty tactical droid TX-15 travel to Mos Eisley looking for a new job from Pono the Hutt. Unbeknownst to them, however, rumors of what the job might be have caught the attention of the Galactic Empire, who have sent the cunning Baron Gundark to investigate the unsuspecting pair.
Oh, look. Another space-weary pilot graces my docking bay. A law-abiding businessman on legitimate business, I'm sure.
That's me, the model of a good Imperial citizen. Where's QL3?
The droid? Turns out it was letting too many smugglers through. Who would have thought on such an upstanding city as this one? Which leads into my role. I'll need your name, ship name, model, and the manifest. Oh, and I'll need to know why you're here.
There's the manifest. I'm Blitz Corden, and that fine bird over there
It's leaking.
What?
Your ship is leaking.
Oh. Yes, it is. Well, maybe not so fine, but she's fast enough.
Fast enough for what? Legitimate business?
Yeah. Shipping bantha meat is very time sensitive, and a Jumpmaster 5000, like the Skifter, is fast enough.
I am TX-15, a T-Series tactical droid and co-pilot.
Transporting bantha meat, eh? Well, you're certainly filthy enough.
Says the human replacing a droid.
Ouch! Not wrong, though. You must have annoyed someone to get sent all the way out here. What do you reckon, Tex?
I calculate the most likely cause to be his irritating personality.
Well, Tex is never wrong. Sorry for the trouble, friend.
I'm not your friend. I'm a lieutenant in the Imperial Navy, and if I was so inclined, I could have a squad of troopers in here with the press of a button to search that scrap heap you call a ship and have you arrested and your clone war relic of a droid melted down.
I feel like there should have been a junior in there somewhere just before lieutenant.
Right, that's it.
Whoa! Hold up. I wouldn't do that, Lieutenant.
What's this? Imperial informant. Immunity? Admiral Corso. You're an Imperial agent?
Mm-hmm. Now, I appreciate we got off on the wrong foot. I've been hanging out with bounty hunters and smugglers too long. What's your name, lad?
Lieutenant Tam. Sorry, I guess, for the outburst. Not very professional of me, but I do still outrank you.
Indeed you do. And maybe I can help you move off of this awful planet. Just stay out of my way, and I'm sorry for winding you up.
I am not sorry. I believe you had an effect on him.
That's the point. Now let's get this job done. Get out of here. I'm sweating like a glitter stim addict.
Blitz! Finally back. Took you long enough. You got what I need?
Yeah, it's on Dock 3. I'll bring it around later.
Well then, looks like you're not too old after all. Pono's in the back. He's got your money and a job for you. And there's a seat at the SADAC table when you're done.
But slow down. Let me get my money before I lose it all.
He is anxious. I calculate that something is wrong.
Agreed. I've got a bad feeling about this.
Pono Hutt wishes you to deliver this package to the planet Jeddah. He wishes to make sure you understand that it is a Hutt family antique and he will be most displeased if you lose it.
And he wants me to take it to Jeddah. That's about as far from Hutt space as you can get.
Pono Hutt says that he does not pay you to ask questions. It is a simple task. However, he understands that it is a long trip and wishes to show his gratitude by offering double your standard fee. Half paid in advance.
You're the boss. Easy task, no questions, I got it. Who do I take it to once I get it there?
You will be told where to take it once you resume communication on Jeddah. Pono Hutt trusts you understand not to speak to anyone about this until you get there, and the consequences of breaking his trust.
Of course. Tex, grab the package. I'll let you know when I get there. Finally, a winning hand. Pure Sabak, soul.
You wish. Idiots array. I win again. Ah, it's good to be a winner. Another hand.
I've lost enough. Thanks.
How about you bet Tex? I know a lot of people could use a droid that smart. What he's doing hanging around you is beyond me anyway.
Not a chance. I just had a K4 security chip installed.
And he enjoys my company.
And that. I better get to work. I'm worried about this job. The sooner it's done, the better.
Aren't you just transporting an antique? What got you guys so worried?
Everyone is pretending this job is less important than it really is. I think it's safe to assume that they are trying to make sure no one learns the item's true value.
The only reason I can think they'd give it to us and not one of the more ambitious smugglers
is that anyone watching thinks it's a small job.
Exactly, but it's obviously not. Have you heard anything?
Well, word is a TIE Reaper landed earlier today, just before you did. They don't send those out for blue milk runs. Something's got the Empire's interest.
In that case, we should head off-world as soon as possible. You'll make sure those credits go to the right people?
I always do, Blitz. Good luck. I'll see you when you get back.
Alright, let's go, Tex.
Goodbye, Saul.
Watch where you're going.
Sorry, friend.
Hey, what are you doing to my ship?
Blitz called and I presume. Why don't you join me for a little chat?
Blast it. I'm curious.
See those lapel pins? He's a captain. Looks like we know who came in on the Reaper.
Oh, could this day get any worse? Well, Captain, what brings you here?
It's Baron, actually. Baron Gundark. And you can help me by explaining why you have an illicit EMP device installed in your ship. No doubt, if I looked hard enough, I'd find all sorts of other surprises.
Oh, that. Well...
Don't bother making up a lie, Corden. The truth is I know all about you. I have it all here. Smuggling, piracy, theft, arson, inciting rebellion. Luckily, doing some time in prison seems to have helped your attitude, given you're mostly out of trouble for the last few years.
Well, I have a few achievements under my belt.
Achievements? Corden, you mistake me. It's all recorded. You're a barely competent pilot, and apparently an even worse smuggler, given how many times you've been caught. I'm surprised the Hutts still give you work.
So that's why you're here? To make me feel better!
You can't take anything seriously. Who would have guessed? I just want you to know that you're an insignificant piece of slime to the Empire.
You made it sound like I was important before.
They spelled your name wrong.
What?
Have a look. Corden, not Corden. Now really. Let's be honest with one another. You're a backwater scumbag who didn't even warrant a spell check.
Aw.
And I have you here with an illicit EMP device. So I want you to listen carefully.
Bay 9.
What's that?
If you're looking for who just landed the big job with the Hutts, the one that's got everyone anxious, it's a bounty hunter named Blades. He's the best Pono the Hutt has, and he's in Bay 9.
Well, look at that. No wonder among thieves. Since you've been so cooperative, perhaps I'll forget about your ship. Though I am keeping the EMP. For your own safety, of course.
Thanks.
You can go now.
I need to get some supplies from my ship. Is that alright?
Be my guest. I hope we don't meet again, Corden. Because if we do, I'm not going to be so lenient.
Sir, the tracking device is operational. There's no chance they'll find it.
Good. Now let's go to Bay 9 and ask this bounty hunter Blade a few questions.
Blades will be mad at you.
I'm aware of that.
Perhaps he will fight the Imperials and they will all perish. Problem solved.
Do you think that's likely?
No.
Hello again, friend.
Oh, it's you again. And you've got a friend. Are you gonna rob me?
Indeed we are. We want what that Hutt gave you.
We know you have it with you.
Well, aren't you brave scum, going against the Hutts on their own world? You must be new here.
We're not scum like you. We're doing this for the rebellion. The Hutts gave you something. The Empire seems to want it bad. And that's more than enough reason to not let them have it.
Classic rebel logic.
Typical.
Well, fortunately, your opinion doesn't matter. Hand it over, or you die and we take it anyway. We're not the bad guys here.
Well, I'm convinced. Tex, give the good gentlemen what they need.
With pleasure.
Oh, those poor chaps.
I disagree. They are still alive, therefore they are lucky. I recommend we take the bodies with us and eject them from the ship once we are in space.
Not today, Tex. I'm sure they'll wake up and be angry at us, but we'll be gone by then. And we need to get a new EMP and get off well before Baron Fundark finds out we lied to him. With a new EMP device fitted to their ship and in possession of a much sought-after item, Blitz and Tex finally get off-world, hoping to get to Jeddah and fulfill their job for Pono Hut before the Empire or the Rebels catch up with them. But first they must make sure they are not being tracked, else they risk flying into a trap. To do so, they wait in ambush in space just off Tatooine to see if anyone has followed them. Do you think it's been long enough?
Not yet.
But if the TIE Reaper shows up, we could be in trouble.
We will be fine. We have every advantage.
Well, we're about to find out.
It's the Reaper.
Alright, fire up the engine. Let's get moving.
Engine upgrade. Online. Iron torpedoes. Armor. Enemy approaching fast.
Alright, slow us down a bit. Straight forward, let's see if we can scare them off.
I have acquired a target lock.
Boost in. Let's get in their face. How did we do?
Our shields have taken some damage, but so have theirs.
No good. They're coming around for another attack. Ion torpedoes?
Agreed.
Swinging us around. Alright, hit it, Tex.
Target lock engaged. Torpedoes ready.
Focus. Got him.
We should go. X-wings on our tail.
The Rebels? We can take the heat for a bit, but we need to get back to the Reaper and use the EMP. We're turning too slow. Hit the boosters.
Boosting.
There's the Reaper. Looks like their engines are back on. Slow us down for a second.
Shields are down. Hull at 80%.
Time for some barrel rolls. Hold on, Tex.
Push it. We need to be closer.
Got it! Get us out of here.
Hyperdrive enabled.
Oh, that was too damn close.
Well done. Given the 2 X-wings, I had calculated a very low chance of our ship surviving.
Well, thank you for not sharing. Oh, okay. Looks like we need to swap ships. I'm not about to start rummaging around for a tracking device. Where are we?
Get our engines back online. We need to follow them.
No good, sir. We're damaged after the fight, and those X-Wings are still functional. I recommend we withdraw. Cordon ship is much better built than we had anticipated.
Damn it! Damn it! Fine, get us back to Tatooine. It seems certain aspects of Cordon's file were underemphasized.
Agreed, sir. He's one hell of a pilot.
So it would seem.
On the run! Will Blitz and Tex be able to stay ahead now that both the Empire and the Rebels are after them? And why were they chosen for such an important mission? Alone and on the run in deep space, things are looking bad. Find out what will happen on the next episode of Blitz in Space.